شو بدي أقول لك، الوضع كتير كتير مأساوي، كتير لدرجة يعني ما بتقدري تتصوريه. أنا عشت الحرب بلبنان بحياتي كلها. ما شفت مثل هذا الشيء اللي صار بلبنان. يمكن لو ما ثاقبت على البحر أو غير قصص، عن جد كنت بيروت على الأرض، ما بقى في شعب، ما بقى في دنيا، ما بقى في لبنان. الله بيطلع فينا، بيطلع فيكم انتو يلي عم بتساعدوا وعم بتقدموا لو دعم معنوي. هذا نحن يعني بخلينا نقوى وبخلينا نوقف على اجرينا. باذن الله لبنان رح يرجع وبيروت رح ترجع، ما فينا نقول غير هيك. بتأسف على الشباب اللي راحت. بتمنى الشفاء لكل الجرحى. يعني ما فيني احكي اكثر من هيك للحقيقه، لانه شيء ما بينوصف.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jennifer Madauer, and I'm the Operations Manager with UMR. We're joined here today by a group of very strong, empowering survivors of the August 4th explosion in Beirut, Lebanon. 1 year later, we are here to share their stories, to show the world just exactly what they experienced and how they survived, and to update you on the current humanitarian crisis that is unfolding in the country. My first guest, who will share her personal stories and experience, is Nazik, who is joining us currently live from Beirut, Lebanon. Hi, Nazik, how are you?
Hello, Jennifer, how are you? I'm doing well, thanks for asking.
Okay, so I would like to talk a little bit about August 4th, 2020. Of course, that was the fateful day in which there was a massive port explosion in Beirut, Lebanon. This was recorded to be one of the worst non-nuclear explosions to occur on Earth in its history. That day is a very difficult, traumatizing day for many people, Lebanese that lived in Lebanon during that time, and of course abroad with the diaspora. Me being Lebanese myself, I was severely emotionally affected from a distance. Of course, that's nothing compared to the personal stories of people that were living there during that time. Do you mind talking us a little bit through about that day in particular and where you were and how it happened in your own words?
Hello again. Yes. Well, it's really hard to talk about that day. I wasn't in Beirut while the explosion happened. I was half an hour away from Beirut. However, I heard the fireworks. They said it was fireworks. We were able to hear the first explosion and the second explosion. So basically it echoed to where I was, and all the phone calls started pushing in. My kids were in Beirut, and it was heartbreaking. I went on ground the second day, and I can't explain what I saw. And what we can say as Lebanese, like me and many others, life stopped then. It literally stopped then. Everything changed. It's like we slept in a world, we woke up in another world. It's heartbreaking when you hear what people went through, the traumas. Healthcare system is at its boost at the moment. Everyone's requiring assistance, mental health assistance, coaching. It was very bad.
Thank you so much, Nazik. I'd like to introduce our second guest. His name is Mohammed, and he was also in Lebanon during the time of the explosion and currently lives there, and he will be discussing his experiences with us as well. Welcome, Mohammed. Do you mind explaining to us where you were on August 4th, 2020, and talking to us a little bit about your experience that day, what you felt, what you saw, where you were at that exact moment?
Okay, so the day of the explosion, like, it was like the nightmare for us. Like, it was full of destruction. The country was on the ground. Like we thought it was like an assassination going around us. Like each part of the country thought that we have an explosion or an assassination. So the fear of the explosion, the fear of the blood, the fear of losing someone you love. So for me, like how I got hurt in the explosion, like with the blood to the people I saw bleeding on the ground or at the doors of the hospital, like it was really a nightmare for us, or for everyone, or every person that you cared about. You got scared of losing them. Each second, even if you are hurting and you're bleeding and you're thinking of someone you love, maybe had just lost his life. So it was really tough. Even though I got really hurt in the explosion and I lost my hand for 2 months after 2 surgeries, about 20 stitches in my hand, as you can see. So it was really hard. Even like when my mom saw me after the explosion, she came from home to see me, and I was really injured. The glass in my ear, in my neck, my legs. Even to get there, even to get to the hospital, like it was a bad experience. Like even though like I had the PTSD after it, like I had to go to therapy. With everything going on in my life, like the economy, your future, COVID, the curfew, like everything came at the same time as the rock bottom for me. Even though no one helps me, like I lost my job after it because I couldn't move my hand for approximately 2 months. Like I had full damaged nerve for both of my first finger and my second finger. So I had to lose my job and finding another one after I got my surgery and my physio. It was really a long road, but no one cared. Like it's been a year, no one has cared about the people who died, or the people who lost their job, or they get financially damaged. Like no one cared. So looking back at it, a year from now, like even after a year from now, like I don't think anything gonna happen. We're not gonna get our rights back. Like someone I don't know who he is, or no one gonna know who he is. He hurt me and hurt my family. Like the psychological damage that I have been through after the explosion, losing my job, losing part of my future. Like at some point, like I thought I'm not gonna get my hand back. I'm gonna lose 2 fingers. Like, and I'm a pharmacist. So how can I continue my life with a damaged hand, or I'm gonna be like maybe disabled man. Like I'm gonna be disabled. So it's everything all together, like a big nightmare. And even my mom got COVID in the hospital because she lost her sense in the hospital. Like she was freaking out in the hospital. I'm losing a lot of blood. I did some first aid. I did some first aid on myself, but my mom couldn't handle it. Like she saw me fully blooded 23-year-old guy. So it was a really bad experience for the whole family. So I don't wish it on anybody. Seriously, I don't wish it on anybody.
So when you were out, you were at the gym at the time of the explosion?
Yes.
And what happened? You were running on the treadmill, and then what what happened when the
I was
explosion?
just entering the gym. The end
You
of the gym, it's like about a 2 meter glass, 2 meter box of glass, like really, really big, like plateau, or like, I don't know what it's called in English, like it's a لوح كبير of glass.
Mhm.
So it literally showered me with glass, like my whole neck, my ear, like I had a piece of glass penetrating my ear, like literally through my ear. So I had to get it out myself before getting to the hospital because I was bleeding so heavy.
So the glass of the gym came and exploded onto you,
At me.
and there
Yes.
was glass in your ear. You had to perform
Yes.
first aid on yourself.
Yes. Yes. Actually, and when I got into the hospital, I started doing first aids with the nurses. With literally with one hand, I start to helping people as much as I can, get them water. Like I did like what my profession as a pharmacist, to help other people, even though I've been damaged really heavy and with one arm's bleeding. And you can imagine the amount of blood when you lose when you had 22 stitches. So and I was getting dizzy. I'm having tinnitus. At the same time, at the hospital, I was in the AUBMC. Like I was literally helping others people to get stitches, get them first aids, give them water, even though I was, even though I was damaged, I was helping people. Like I thought, as myself as a pharmacist, as a human being, I need to help other people, even though I'm damaged, injured.
What was the view like when you got to the hospital, the streets of Beirut, inside the hospital, outside the hospital? What were you seeing?
Like, it's like a bloodbath. You can see blood, the damage, like the psychological trauma, like when you're walking through the streets, the glass all over the place, people screaming, people crying, people like, it's like they are living in a lucid dream in a way. Like they cannot wake up from this dream they're having. So even when I got to the hospital was on the ground. Like we walked through the glass, through the ceilings, the ceiling on the floor. The medical team was like running from place to place to help as much people as they can. Like no one imagined like we're gonna have that much people injured at the same time. Like their capacities to some hospitals, they cannot have more than 400 people. They were stitching people on the counters. They didn't have enough rooms. They didn't have enough equipment. The nurses were running and there were some nurses injured from the explosion. They were helping other people. So you can see as people, as a country, we like they help each other without asking. They were just helping people. They didn't ask for money. They didn't ask for anything. They were just helping other people to get to safety.
Thank you so much, Mohammed, for sharing your thoughts. Our final guest today is Donna, joining us from Beirut, Lebanon. Donna, thank you so much and welcome. I really appreciate you taking the time and effort to speak about this experience. Although it's very traumatic and very emotional, we really appreciate you sharing your experience with us today.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. It is my pleasure, actually. I didn't think I would be able to talk about it, or I didn't even think that it would be at any point of me actually having this interview or talking about it. But when my friend approached me, I felt like maybe it is time for me to start talking about it. So yes, it's definitely my pleasure to do so.
Thank you so much, Donna. So on August 4th, 2020, your lives changed forever in Lebanon. The world stopped and nothing was ever the same after that. Could you talk to us a little bit about where you were on August 4th and moments right before the explosion, and then what you felt, what you saw, your experience on that day?
Yeah, actually on August 4th, I was at work. It was a regular day. It was a regular Tuesday. I was at work. And it was one of those days where everything was so normal. You thought, okay, it's a bit boring. What's going on? So literally like an hour before 6:04 happened. So we went out. I work at Manam Khayel, which is literally like one street away from the port and where the explosion happened. So you're literally away from the port 5 minutes by walking. So yeah. So basically I went to, I was supposed to leave work at 6, but I didn't have my car. My brother was supposed to come and pick me up. But at around 4:30, I got a call from my manager who told me, I'm so sorry, but we have to work overtime. We have a new pitch coming up. So I was like, okay, fine. Let me go get lunch, late lunch. And then I'm going to say the story a bit weirdly because I feel like it's very ironic at the same time. So I go to one of the vendors in Manu Khayel, and I had a salad. I prepared the salad the day before, but I didn't get the sauce, right? And things were already getting very inflated in terms of prices. Things are scarce, they're not found. So I go to this sandwich and salad shop, and I ask them, I know this is gonna sound very weird. I tell the cashier person, I know this is gonna sound very weird, but is it okay if I only get sauce for my salad? And he tells me, of course. So he gives me the sauce I wanted, and then I wanted to pay him because obviously it's not something that he should be doing. And he tells me, of course I'm not going to take money from you. Alhamdulillah, dunya b'alf khair. So which means that the world is still a great place, even though there's COVID and an economic crisis and everything's going crazy in Lebanon. He tells me this sentence. And I go like, you know what, maybe it's fine. Literally 1 hour later, I was standing on the window at work, and we heard this noise. So I said, no, I'm going to be working pretty late today, so let me go stretch my legs. So I go and I stand by the window, and we hear the first noise. So it was 2 sounds. The first sound, everyone stopped. Okay, what's going on? And then everyone rose to go to the windows. I was already standing at the window, so we all rose. So my friend who's in the Red Cross, she tells me, Donna, go back, just in case there's another explosion. This is part of their training in the Red Cross. So they tell the civilians how to react in such situations. So I look at her and go like, I don't think there's going to be another thing. It's one of those crazy, because it was literally a minute apart between the first and the second explosion, not more than that. I don't remember the details, but I don't think it was more than that. So basically, as soon as I was turning to go back, the second explosion happened and everything went to chaos. It was a complete apocalyptic moment that I truly never experienced, will never experience probably in my life. It was a thing out of a movie, completely not something that you can describe or imagine. It's not something that you think that would happen in this day and age. Literally, my first thought and my only thought was, this is how I'm gonna die. This is how I am going to die in 2020. We didn't know what was going on. Everyone told us to pack up our things and to go through the stairs. We had around an hour between the chaos of leaving the building, which was falling apart. The roof fell over our heads. I was wearing white jeans. I don't know why I was wearing white jeans that day. I had blood on my jeans. It was my blood, my friend's blood. My friend broke her leg, and we weren't able to carry her because we don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to think, how to process. You think about your parents. You think about your friends. You think about your family. Is this the last time I see? Excuse me. Is this the last time I see my family, my friends? What's going on? It's a mixture of so many different emotions, but I think mainly it's not, I don't know. I can't process. You really are in shock. I remember people calling me And I was shouting on the phone because everything was so loud in my head that I couldn't even process what I was saying. And apparently, this is something that I always say, and my friends always tell me, during that moment, it was like I was on a recorded CD. Every single person that called me, I was telling them the same thing. It was as if it was recorded. I was telling them the same thing. But what's crazy is that I don't even know who called me. I don't even remember up until this day. Sometimes people tell me, yeah, we called you that day and you were telling us this, this, and that. And I look at them, I go like, I'm so sorry. I don't even remember having any conversation except for telling my mom, screaming at my mom to tell my brother not to come, because maybe it was a second explosion, maybe it was a war, maybe it was something political that's going on that we didn't know about. We had no idea what was going on. It was complete chaos. And it wasn't just us. Like, you see that the entire street, everything was complete chaos. And when you were trying to call the Red Cross, and the Red Cross didn't even know where to start, you know? So basically it was like, there are certain levels of danger or situations for the Red Cross. So for example, yellow, it's fine, it's containable. Blue, okay, it's getting a bit more serious. Red, it's something out of, no. I asked, because I have friends at the Red Cross, and they told me the 4th of August explosion is not even one of these parameters. It's something completely out of the box that they did not even know how to process. So yeah, it was completely insane. And it's crazy that every person you ask, whether it's in Beirut or in Jnoub, or Jnoub is the south, I'm sorry, or in the mountains, or in the north, they all tell you, we heard the explosion as if it was right down the street. Every single person you asked, for example, my grandmother, she lives in the mountains, which is like an hour away from the port by car. It's literally impossible for it to be. But the magnitude of the voice, of the sound, of the shock, the waves, it was as if it was right there with them. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to think about a moment where you actually thought you were going to die. It's not easy not understanding how or why, or up to this day, you go like, how is this okay? How is this still something that people in the 21st century have to go through because of such corruption? It makes no sense. And nothing helps. Nothing helps in the sense, it doesn't give you peace of mind, where you go like, because if it's not fair, it's just a mixture of so many different bad things, you know? And it's not something where you have peace of mind with at all. So if it's not something that I suffered with a lot, was survivor's guilt, because you see all these people that they're little kids, or they're 4 and 15 years old, and they have their whole lives in front of them, and it's not something that you're able to control.
Thank you. I know it must be very difficult to speak about that and to remember that it's only been 1 year. So I'm sure the effects are still echoing through your mind. Speaking of the psychological effects of the explosion and the aftermath, psychologically, how has this affected you? You mentioned your children. How has their psychological health been since the explosion?
Well, it has deteriorated in a very sad way. With schools going on, with their end of year exams, with us having to cope between the kids, ourselves, trying to stay strong, inspiring them, pushing them to go on, while we're unable to help ourselves at the moment. Psychologically, it's been a disaster, with all the chaos that's going on in Lebanon, with with the stories you hear on daily basis, people are still stuck, like the timeline, it just stopped there. A year today from that day, people still talk about the same current events. We're unable to be present. Everyone is still stuck in the past because we're unable to get out of that trauma that was terrible on all levels, especially with the financial and the economic and unemployment. So basically, we have no assets that are helping us to get out of that situation that we went through.
خدمة كبيرة للناس اللي ما عم بتلاقي أسرها، خدمة كبيرة لكل شخص عانى من قلة أماكن بالمستشفيات. بنتشكر الرعاية، جمعية الرعاية اللي هي كانت الوسيط وساهمت مع اليوم آر لنحصل على هيدي المساعدة.
نحن بنتشكر اليو ام ار على مساعدتها إلنا بتجهيز هالقسم هيدا. بنتشكر أيديهم الخيرة، وبنتشكر الهيئة الرعاية كمان على التوسط والمساعدة بهالموضوع هيدا، والله يقويهم.
نشكر كثير مؤسسات الرعاية يلي نظرت لنا بهذه المساعدات، ونشكر الجهة المانحة اللي هي مؤسسات اليو ام ار. نقص نحن يلي وصلنا أكيد نحن بحاجة له، بحاجة كبيرة له، وبنتشكر كل شخص أو أي جهة بتدعم المستشفى ولو بشيء بسيط. المعدات اللي استلمناها جدا مهمة، وراح تاخذ طريقة بالتوظيف الصحيح إن شاء الله بأقرب وقت.
Can you talk a little bit about how this has psychologically affected you and people you knew? You talked a lot about survivor's guilt. You talked about your friends that were injured and impacted. So how has this affected you and the country psychologically?
I definitely think that along with the physical injuries that you suffered from, or anyone that was present that day suffered from, it's definitely the psychological trauma that stays with you in terms of PTSD. I couldn't sleep for the first, I think, 2 weeks. Genuinely could not sleep. My mom had to dissolve melatonin or something like that in my tea in order, without me knowing, in order to just at least have me sleep for a couple of hours every day. I can't even start. The first month was the hardest, and then after that it was a lot of very short panic attacks where you feel like the world is stopping and you can't focus, and you have to focus on your breathing in order for you to actually live. So the panic attacks were something that I went through almost on a daily basis. Whenever I heard a really loud noise, which is something that is present every single day in Lebanon. It's not something that's out of the ordinary. We hear loud noises every second, every hour. It's a normal occurrence here in Lebanon. It's not something out of this world for us to hear loud noises. So yeah, definitely the first month was very, very hard. I couldn't be around a lot of people. People wanted to see me all the time, which was understandable for them. They wanted to be there for their friends. My friends thought it was okay, but I couldn't be around crowded people, crowded places. I stopped going to work because there was no office, but I stopped seeing people. I stopped seeing friends. And after you start getting out of this the psychological or PTSD of sorts in terms of loud noises, you get used to it, accustomed to it, you start living your life and trying to be as normal as possible, then the survivor guilt hits you. So then you realize, oh, why did I live? I mean, I'm not any better than any of those people that lost their lives or those people that lost their loved ones. Why would I survive and not them? Which is something very difficult for you to deal with on a daily basis, because it's something that you cannot control. You cannot control your thoughts and how you think about something and how you process something. So getting over the survivor's guilt, it was very difficult. And not just for me, for my parents, because my parents, they try to convince you that you're a good person, you do good things, but then you tell them, but what did those people do? I'm sure for the 4-year-old girl, Alexandra, wasn't a bad person either. So why did this happen to her? This was something very difficult. I think definitely the panic attacks and from the PTSD and then the survivor guilt was something very difficult to overcome, for sure.
So Lebanon is no stranger to explosions, war, conflict, political instability. And this, I'm sure, was not the first explosion or war or disaster or conflict that you personally have lived through in Lebanon. So how does this, just for the people listening, how did this explosion differ from anything else you had ever experienced in the past?
This was completely different because we've been through assassinations. We lived through the explosion of assassination of certain people. We went through the war. I'm talking about a personal experience, the 2006 war. Basically, we were shielded from certain areas, and those were targeted to specific audience. This explosion in specific targeted the heart of Beirut. So basically, the heart of Beirut that has everyone we love, that has our relatives, our friends, our families, has it's zone zero. This was completely different on all levels because it was completely unexpected. Everyone was living their lives normally. It was a normal day, and it happened in the morning, mid-morning. So basically, life was at its peak, and this explosion was bigger than any other explosion that Lebanon has encountered and we have been through. And the side effects that this explosion has left has been radiating a year from now. It's like when we speak about it, it's like it happened just right now, like today. If we speak about it, we still cry. If we speak about it, it's still heartbreaking.
Can only imagine, and I think everyone that was not in Lebanon at that time can only imagine the suffering and the trauma that you and many others have endured. The country as a whole has seen irreversible damage and trauma. How about leading up to August 4th? You said it was just a regular day, but we know beginning around October 2019, the revolution had started up again. There was a lot of political instability, and the situation had just started with COVID in the country in early 2020. And this was all prior to the explosion. So could you just talk a little bit about how Lebanon was even prior to the explosion? And then if you'd like, compare it to how it is now after.
Lebanon, at that moment, at that year, it was already it wasn't stable to start with, whether it's on the political crisis, whether the revolution, COVID-19. So However, we were able to cope. Like we knew things were going out of hand. We knew things were getting worse, but we never expected things to blow up the way it did. We were on ground. Everyone was on ground. I participated myself in the revolution as every other Lebanese did. Things were getting harder. However, that day in specific broke a tie. It broke a tie because as hard as things were, we never expected them to lead up to that point in specific. And that day, since that day, with COVID and with everything, with the isolation, with the lack of resources, whether it's medical resources, whether it's economical, whether it's food shortage, with the schools being given remotely, everything just collapsed at one point. It reached the peak on August 4th, and then everything exploded from that day forth.
It's very, very unfortunate what's happening to a once flourishing country. Lebanon thrives off of tourism, off of visitors, very proud country. Right now, the situation is a humanitarian crisis. It is deteriorating by the minute. You've mentioned food shortages, there are electricity shortages, there are gasoline shortages. The Lebanese lira has completely depleted. The economic situation has just completely deteriorated, making it impossible for people living in the country to access basic necessities. Do you mind talking a little bit about just how difficult and how expensive everything has become to just even get food, over-the-counter medications, to get healthcare? To even join us today was a little bit of a challenge because you have to work around the hours in which you have electricity in the day.
Jennifer, it's really unfortunate. As much as we might explain it, living it is completely different. That's on a completely different level. When you go to supermarkets, we're unable even to find the goods that we need, the necessities that we need. Nonetheless, if you find them, you can't afford it because it's not expensive, it's crazy. The rates have gone up so high that some people are literally, like, every time we look at other situations and what other people are going through, we thank God to the situations that we're in, regardless of how hard, because we're blessed at the moment. We count our blessings. We're unable to cope with electricity. It's gone crazy. With the generators, it was fine. At the moment, we have no gasoline for the generators. So basically, literally, we're unable to charge our phones. We're unable to watch TV. We're unable to light a single light bulb at the moment. Nonetheless, when we are able to reach a gas station for gasoline, for us, it's like we did something spectacular because it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And even if we reach that point, sometimes you're in line for like an hour or two, and then they're out of gasoline. So they just shut it down, and then you have to go somewhere else. So basically, us Lebanese people have never been through this before. Even during the war, when there was a war, people were living better than we are right now, because now we have zero lack of resources.
As a pharmacist, can you talk a little bit about the shortages of medications that you're seeing and experiencing?
Let me tell you something. The amount of shortage in the medication, it's unbelievable. Like, some people came to the pharmacy, and literally I told them, I don't have anything to give you because there are no medications left. Some people have high fevers, some kids having high fevers. Some people, maybe they're having some traveler diarrhea or viral gastroenteritis, or like anything self-limiting or something to help them to get through their disease. You can't help them. People that have a shortage of high blood pressure medication, diabetes, even if we have shortage on pain medication, we don't have Advil, Panadol, like we don't have anything left. Like, if you came to the pharmacy, you can see the amount of shortage that we have, like some brands, some compounds, like the main, like the 101 medications that it should be in every pharmacy, we don't have, from Panadol to Advil, Brufen. Like I can name so many essential drugs. It should be in every pharmacy across Lebanon. Now we don't have it. Some people are not taking their drugs because they can't find it. That's really bad. Like some people are dying because they don't having any anticoagulant or antiplatelet drugs. They can have a thrombotic event, stroke, PE, or because they don't have any anticoagulant or antiplatelet drugs. So this is bad. Like we are going from bad to worse each and every day. When you get into some point, like you're having fights with the patients because they need the drugs and you can't give it to them because you don't have it. And people not understanding, at the end of the day, they need to take the drug and you can't provide the service for them. So this is the worst part now. No hospitals, no pharmacy. We're going back to the old age, like way back.
Thank you so much. Can you talk a little bit about the other crises that are ongoing in Lebanon right now? So even before the explosion, there was the COVID-19 pandemic, there was the revolution, there was political instability, food scarcity, electricity cuts, gasoline shortages. So there are a number of compounding crises happening in Lebanon. Can you talk a little bit about the scarcity of food and medicine and the depletion of the currency and how your life is right now in Lebanon?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's an ongoing struggle. I feel like every day you fight a war against yourself, and then against the country, even though we truly do love this country. I always say that I feel like every single person in this country has collective Stockholm syndrome. They love this country, but it keeps them captive in a way that it's not normal. Yes, I feel like what's the worst thing right now is the scarcity of medical supplies, of medicine, and food. Even though it is pretty available, there are so many alternatives that you can go for. It's extremely overpriced. Extremely. I cannot even stress how overpriced basic necessities are for people that get around maybe $20 to $30 if we're comparing it to the market rate of the dollars per month. So basic necessities, we're talking just milk, water, bread, things that they really cannot go without. We're not even talking about luxury items like, I don't know, salmon or meat. Even meat, we consider meat a luxury now. Some families that haven't had meat in ages, and it's completely against Lebanese mentality to be, because we love having anything related to food, or we feel like it's one of our love languages. But that completely changed. We cannot even get started on the electricity. The electricity is a whole other issue by itself. And I don't know if you've talked to anyone recently in Lebanon, but I think the worst is right now of sickness are either COVID, because of everything being readily unavailable, and food poisoning because of how bad our food is, how badly it's going due to the lack of electricity. Everything is going to waste. We're not able to have our basic living standards. It's pretty bad.
So the power just went out?
Yeah, and it probably won't come until tomorrow.
So how many hours per day are you losing electricity?
So there are 24 hours in a day. It comes at a total of like 2 to 3 hours if they're being generous.
So if you have electricity in a 24-hour period, you only have electricity for 2 to 3 hours per day.
2 to 3 hours that's supplied by the government, which is our basic right of survival, right? So it's the basic right. But the rest is the generators. So, but the generators, there isn't enough fuel. So for you to get the fuel, you have to go and bribe the fuel people. I don't know what they're called, to give you fuel, and they charge you around 7 times higher than the market rate. Now there is no electricity up until I think tomorrow, because there's no fuel in my building. It is what it is. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and we are survivors. So you live and you grow, and you think that it's tomorrow will be better.
Thank you so much, Donna. I want to thank you on behalf of UMR for everything that you've shared with us today.
Thank you so much for your work. It's truly honorable, and I hope you guys have a great night. Oh, it's perfect.
شو حلو.
Perfect. هلا بس هي ما بعرف اذا كهرباء عادي ولا دولة ولا موتور ولا
يمكن
it's always probably
I'd like to thank all of our panelists for joining us this evening. I know it could not have been easy, especially because of the precarious electricity and internet service. So thank you all so much. It's a very difficult subject, a very traumatizing subject to speak about. And I know that our listeners today sincerely appreciate you reliving that tragedy and sharing those moments and everything else that you've experienced with us today. So before we conclude our session, I would just like to see if anyone else has any final thoughts to share with those people that are living outside of Lebanon. What is this final message that you'd like to convey to people about the healthcare system and the food scarcity and the electricity and the gasoline shortage and the COVID crisis and the complete humanitarian crisis that we are watching unfold and unravel in Lebanon? What is one message that you would like to share with those living outside of Lebanon? Nazik, go ahead.
What I would like to tell everyone as a brief is what happened in Lebanon is not a memory. It's an open wound. It's an open wound and a very deep one. Lebanon is currently in need for the basic resources that any other country might have. We are in need for medication. We are in need for food. We are in need of water, clean water. We are in need of all the support that we can get for this country to flourish again. Because Lebanon, I've been abroad and I've been to many places and I love the vacation, yet at one point, I always wanted to go back home because Lebanon was known to be Switzerland, the Eastern Switzerland. And at the moment, Lebanon is at war. Literally, it's at war and it's devastating and heartbreaking. So whoever can help Lebanon and help its people to go back on our knees, to put a smile on a child's face, whether it's we're approaching the schools right now with the stationery that they need for school, the fees, the hospitals, the medication bills, the medicine itself, food, anything that might help anyone, any family just cope until this is over. Since we're unable to determine yet how long it's going to take for us to cope with the situation, and we are unable to detect the timeline that this is going forth with.
Thank you so much, Nazik. Donna, any final messages or words?
I think they should really, really get in touch and have this awareness and talk to people here. Just talk to people, go on social media, have a decent conversation with anyone, any family member, any working person, any parent that is scared their kids won't be able to have what they need in order to grow. And I think what's really, really scaring people right now is because even though no one would actually die of hunger, we're pretty close of dying from hunger because um, it's not available. The lack of food, and I think even worse, the lack of medical supplies and medicine. You hear about people, I think really it's the worst, not having the right medicine, having corrupted medicine, having not just the hospitals not being able to carry through and saving the lives that they should be saving, whether it's because the generators won't be able to turn on because of the lack of fuel or something like that. It's crazy to think that 2021 hospitals are literally being shut down because they're not being able to operate. It's insane. You cannot even imagine everything. Everything you speak about, it seems like it's out of a stone age, or it's post apocalyptic. It's not even in between. You really cannot have the basic needs of like a headache medicine or a cough, and everything is so inflated with prices. So I'm gonna give an example. For example, Senecod, or it's medicine for cough syrup. It was, let's say, 18,000, which was at some point $12, and it was fine because it's a medicine. Now I went recently to one of the pharmacies that had it because everything is not available. So they had it by mistake, and they told me it's 82,000. That's insane. Who would have to pay? And that is a lot compared to the person that's not getting any money at all. So I definitely think that it's I think the medical issue is the worst, followed by the food, followed by the corruption of the political system, followed by COVID-19, which leads back to the medical. It's just an ongoing cycle. It never ends.
Thank you so much, Donna. Mohammed, is there anything else that you'd like to share with everyone listening? What type of message do you want them to hear?
Get me out! Get me out! Help me! Let me tell you something. Let's start from to every person living outside Lebanon. Lebanon, it's a very beautiful country. You can have a lot of fun in this country. You can live a beautiful life. You can give your kids a very beautiful life if they were born in this country. But now, after all this problem, I don't. Sorry, the electricity gone. So I wish everyone to help Lebanon, not in the way like just send them money, like just help them in a way to get their freedom, to get back to give power back to the people, not in the hands of the people that have been in Lebanon from 1975, from our civil war till now. Help them to get their freedom back, help them to make their own decisions again, help them to provide them electricity, food, medications, not something, not just money. Give them the essential they need. Give them freedom, give them medication, give them food, anything. Like we're in a very bad situations right now. Just anything can help other people. Like even I'm not very financially stable, I'm still able of helping people, from little things to the big things. But when we help each other, we can build a country. Even if we're not from the same nationalities or not in the same part of the globe, let's say, or in different parts of the globe, we can help each other in a very, 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 very different way. from supporting, from sending some good wishes. We all need to help each other to get through hard times. Maybe just with kind words, maybe with some money or anything. We just need to help each other to get through hard times. And to other people, and to the people outside Lebanon, or to the people inside Lebanon, we need to stand with each other, like to have to build a better future, to have a better future, to give other people or the children of tomorrow maybe a better future that we had, or the things that we've been through. Don't let our kids go through. Let's build a country for better generation, for people who can live peacefully, or like they don't have any type of prejudices because parents put them for other religion. Let's love each other without telling what's their religion or which kind of politics they are with. Let's help each other to have a better tomorrow, or to have a better image of Lebanon, to help other people love Lebanon, to make Lebanon like how it used to be before the Civil War, to be proud to be called we are Lebanese.
Thank you all so much. If you have been moved by the stories that you've heard today, and you want to contribute to our campaign to help provide food parcels, healthcare, medication, supplies, equipment, and cash family assistance to people living and struggling right now in Lebanon, please consider donating to the link on your screen. UMR stands with Lebanon, and we are all Lebanon strong.